Everybody to another wonderful day of the market gapping up. As we can see here, overnight inventory is 100% net long. If we zoom this thing out, you can see we left a rather large gap below, starting from about 78.50 to 38.75, that prior day high. And from here, we are gapping up from yesterday's high, which was about 42.12-ish, not exact. And then, we're trading up in that upper half of that right now, seeing some volume come in late. There was actually some pretty decent volume if we look in the overnight session comparative to the past few overnight sessions. We're sitting at about 226,000 volume already. Typically, we've been starting the session with, relatively a lot less volume. So the plan today, for the most part, is to be patient, right? We know that when the market opens up on a larger gap, that typically you want to be patient, let the market work itself out. I'd like to see the market pull back a little bit, maybe trap some sellers around this. I always forget that I changed it to red. I'd like to see it come down, test this overnight point of control around that 41.22, find some buyers, and then trade higher, looking to get up to that 42.52 that we talked about yesterday. Morning, Zay. Morning, Nelson. Waking up this morning and seeing this large gap up kind of pisses me off, just because I was looking for this yesterday and debated with myself about leaving one on overnight or leaving a couple on overnight. It just didn't. What can you do? Yeah, we're getting up to that level, and if we take a peek here on the ES daily chart, we're coming back up to that really weak reference that we had back up at the 43.03, and then the 200 SMA is actually moving 43.16, so it's very close to that. So it almost seems like a target at this point for some of these traders to try to push up. We're seeing what seems to be like people piling on, maybe some other time traders piling onto the market here to take the market a bit higher. So it'll be interesting to see what we get throughout the rest of the day, as far as the session trades on. Remember that we want to go with any gap that doesn't close early. And so if we don't get a gap close early on, we want to just be looking for, well, today they're going to be initiative longs, just because of where the market is at. Oh, I don't know what just happened to that thing. Oh well. Right, so if we're placing longs above yesterday's value, obviously that's initiating long. So we're going to need to see some more initiative longs today. So what we'd like to see is some aggression from long traders early on in the market. All right, I'm just posting this, and then I gotta get my updated. Morning, Caesar. My updated, what's it called? Apple gamma levels. There we go. Looks like my computer's being a little bit slow today. BTC closed above that 24,792. We had on TradingView. Does it look like it's holding resistance under that 25K? Should we look for continuation? Well, so at that level, Nelson, what you should be looking for is continuation naturally, but you have to make sure that you're remaining objective and looking for that other time frame seller to come into the market and respond to these higher prices. As far as the actual market goes, I think Bitcoin is lagging behind, and like I said, it has been a leader lately. And so, in reality, the way that I'm looking at it, Morning Crypto Mojo, is that it's telling us that the market might be a little bit overcooked to the upside and we need to be a little bit cautious. So today I'm going in today, you know, fairly cautious, whereas yesterday I was pretty much like, this thing's going to go to the upside. Morning, Roach. So today I do have a little bit more caution on. You can see Apple is going to be opening up on a gap above here, so we'll go ahead and mark that close from yesterday. I'd like to just mark these levels on our bigger stocks to see if we get a pullback. Oh, we've got 10 minutes. We've got plenty of time. AMD also going to be opening up on a gap here. We'll look to see the close from yesterday. And a big sign too is like something that will help us, at least I think, is like my uncle's algo. Typically, if there's low volume, it won't get into a play right away. And if there's low volume, that typically tells us that, you know, there's not much selling in the market. I don't think that's going to be the case just because of how much volume has come in the overnight session, but you know, it'll at least give us a little bit of a sign. Amazon gapping up as well here. Amazon actually closed below its open yesterday after that big spike to the upside. We're going to make 2 alerts on Amazon. Google still trying to break its high from yesterday as well, but it's going to be opening up inside yesterday's range. If we look at Google here, on the yearly, you can see it's getting right up to the top of this channel that we've been kind of tracking, but there's just nothing up here, right? So if it breaks this 123, I think easily pushing up into this consolidation 130 area for Google. But, you know, cautiously optimistic, I guess, today, but a little bit more cautious than yesterday, whereas yesterday I was pretty much just sold on that the upside was a certainty. Meta, the worst performer, but it's getting right back to that put gamma level, that 0 gamma level, excuse me. So above that, you could see market makers come in and be forced to buy to push up the market here. I don't really care about Meta, to be honest. We're not going to get a market. Microsoft looks like it's going to be opening up on a gap as well. Pulling back here a little bit. Bro, Tesla and Disney. I'm so paid. Yeah, Tesla and Disney did really well yesterday. Disney had a huge beat on earnings, which was a big surprise for a lot of people. Tesla trying to climb back up over this magical 900 level. So if it does get over that 900 level, there's good odds that this thing could start to sky again. We'll have to see. Same thing on BTC, looking for initiated activity. If we see upside, it looks like we have a built higher from 24.5 to 22. Maybe time BTC put in some structure in the mid 20s. Yeah, and I think and James and I were actually talking about this morning. You know, the volatility seems to be coming out of Bitcoin a little bit lately, right? Not as volatile as it has been in previous times. So I'm not saying that it can't be more volatile, just saying that we want to be paying attention to something like that as well. We can see the VIX is below 20, right? And actually closed below 20 yesterday. So I moved my profiles back to 1 TPO. That's why they look a little bit stretched out, not as zoomed in. So we'll be zooming in a little bit today, a little bit easier today to jump in there. Disney is more than their parks. I don't really think it's that surprising. I mean, yeah, I mean, I mean, I agree with that. Like, you know, they own pretty much everything, right? ESPN, like Disney Plus, like they just own everything. And with them raising their prices, Disney Plus talked about raising their prices to $10.99 a month. They're gonna lose a lot less subscribers than someone like Netflix, because Disney Plus is more for everybody in the family, whereas Netflix, you know, is kind of like, okay, well, most of these shows are for adults. Yeah, there's Netflix for kids, but most of those shows are just shit compared to Disney Plus. So The dollar took a little bit of a bath yesterday, recovered during Globex a little bit, but has since come back down towards that low of its range. Bitcoin, like we talked about, is up near the highs. Oil starting to come back up a little bit during Globex. Looks like it's opening up higher on a gap. Gold is finally coming back down a little bit. Did continue selling off through Globex yesterday. Came back down, but still below its low yesterday. Nasdaq is still up, right? We're still up above that trend line, so building value above that long-term trend line will be healthy and good sign of continuation. Russell staying above its trend, and the Dow also staying above its trend. Interesting here, we got that big spike in bonds yesterday to the upside and sell off for the rest of the day, but during Globex found the low and started trading back up. So just kind of interesting. Morning, Tommy. Morning, Trend. Apple. Go ahead and get some Reveille going so we know that the day's about to start. All right, we are ready. We've got about 3 minutes until the market opens, so go ahead and do what you got to do. Get ready. Pop, good morning. Adam, good morning. Send Tesla to 920 for you. That'll be interesting. I mean, people. So basically, yesterday Elon sold all that Tesla, and then everyone said, "Hey, Elon, why'd you sell?" And he said, "Well, if I get forced to buy Twitter, then I need some money if people don't come through. But if I don't get forced to buy Twitter, then I'm going to be buying Tesla stock again." So people liked that statement and jumped on board.
Well, he's got a bunch of options he can buy super cheap.
Yeah.
And good morning.
Morning, Kevin.
Man, it's just ahead of miss yesterday, but it was good.
Yeah, yesterday was good. Nice gap on the up. Today, I mean, today's relatively the same. We're going to open up on a rather large gap again. So there is some opportunity for some, what Peter Reznicek refers to as shock and awe early on. So we might see some volatility early on. So today's one of those days where we're going to have to be extra patient, right? 2 large gaps in a row, right? Remember this gap down here below, it takes up a whole screen. So a pretty large gap.
It is a large gap.
And the technology sector actually finished on the highs yesterday. So in order to continue moving up, I'm maybe looking for that one to finish on the highs again. And see if they open up on a gap as well. Remember, gap rules are going to be in play today. Here we go, 30 seconds. Here we go. Here's the open. Let's see if we can find where these buyers are deciding to initiate new prices at. Little offer coming in below the open here right off the bat. XLK gapped up. Healthcare actually moved back down into yesterday's range. XLY gapped up. Financials gapped up. Communications gapped up. Industrials are gapping. Oh, what's going on here? Industrials gapped up. Staples gapped up. Energy gapped up. Utilities is relatively unchanged. Materials gapped up. And real estate gapped up. Apple's right at that 170 put call level. But above its zero gamma level, so you can kind of expect buying to just come in really for Apple for sure. I still like this target up here of 52. I think that's a good opportunity right there if buyers show up. We saw some buyers show up right here on that 39.5, and then the market came back above the open, but now back to that same level here. What's a Globex high here? Globex high is like 47. Volume coming in down here lower now. See the point of control shift down. A little bit of a response down there from that low. See the tick opened up pretty high here. What's my mouse at? Go back and forth across the open again today. Back down. Counts are coming in pretty slow, but only call counts so far, my uncle says. Netflix is broken above the level that we had marked. So back down to that same level where that volume was at. You've seen a little bit of a response there again. It looks like the offer is coming down here below the open, and you're starting to see some people cover here, or liquidate some of these longs. Weak spot below is at 34.50 here. Starting to see tapering here on the low. Remember, we have this large gap, so I mean, best thing to do is just be a little bit patient, let this market work itself out early on, and then, we'll just go from there, really. Failure to close the gap would let us know that sellers do not have that much strength. I'd like to see, some buyers initiate at higher prices up here around this 42.22, but we'll see. That's still 10 points above. What? Sure. Ask Nana. Okay, that's fine then. So weak spot above here, 36. Looked like a spot where these longs liquidated from a little bit, but now you're seeing the market trade back into there and start to fill in this little gap. So for sellers to convince us, we want to see them move down into this gap and continue selling. If not, you'll probably rotate back up to that 38.50. Offer still moves down, so offers on the 37 here. You can see the book is a lot thinner than it was yesterday already, so you can tell a little bit less participation up here early on. So buyers, even if they are longer term buyers, they're going to look to initiate a little bit more fair prices. And with this huge gap up, it looks early on like they're a little bit less willing to participate at these higher prices. You can see the breath here starting to come back down. Healthcare gap down pretty hard during this first period. Financials still look strong, so do communications. But other than that, everything looks pretty weak. Oh, energy looks good as well, but
Morning, Brad.
morning, Tommy. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Doing good.
Good. Quick question. You went over the spike rules. I've obviously been doing them wrong. I thought that the base of the spike was kind of the excess on the M period, but did I think you said the other day you start it from the bottom of M period, do you?
Yeah, for the most part, I do, just because if we look at yesterday, and yesterday was kind of a spike, right? It's hard to really to decipher if it is a spike, but most of the time I try to do it from the impulse. And so for this spike, if I were to classify it as a spike, I would use it from like here to like, man, probably to like right here. So instead of
Okay,
just going
cool.
from that D high, I'd go from like where obviously there was a seller because we saw rejection off of this level and then spiked up at the end. And it's a spike because it breaks above the high of the day. So I would draw it from there.
Okay, got you. So it's easier when it's like looks like that when if you was actually trading it to know where the impulse was, yeah.
Right, right. And I mean, even
Cool.
even with something like this, just because of how it's set up, this low of M is really close to that VPOC.
Yeah.
You could use
Just
that
use
as
the
well.
bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, mate.
Yeah. So we saw that VPOC shift to the low, but market traded back up. We get back to that 38, 37 level. This is where that offer came in before. Apple's still kind of struggling here. Time frame is go back to 1 day. I can tell my computer's like lagging today. I'm buying a new computer soon. TJ, yes, I switched to 1 tick. Dan, you're diamond handing the Tesla options. You don't care. Morning, Reyes. Said never bet against the Mickey Mouse Mafia. We see that VPOC shift back up to that 37. So it looks like sellers are still willing to move down there, down from the open is what I'm talking about, to at least compete here, but not really a big move. And the tempo to the downside really wasn't very strong. We're seeing healthcare flip back to green here. You're seeing consumer discretionary really kind of balance right there on the edge. If we flip over to the Nasdaq here, you can see it's basically just, well, I guess it's showing the Globex open here, but you can see it's basically right above its open. I wonder if we can change the studies. I can feel how slow my only the last period. I guess you'd have to turn off the Globex session. That's all right. A little bit of volume coming in at 38.50, 39 level. Still looks like sellers are trying to hold down here below the open. Remember, the open's 40.50 here. Above the open, there's not really much resistance as we are in a gap, and so people probably get squeezed. Yeah, it does. It feels like a lot of old business so far, and typically that's what happens, Rogsby, on a gap up day like this, especially a huge gap up day like this. We don't get a lot of people willing to, show their hand early on, right? So people are going to be just sprinkling in here, sprinkling in there if they're a larger size trader, until the market really, makes a direction or makes a decision. Of course, there's the open. Of course, we do want to, make sure that we are going with the gap, right? Any gap that doesn't fill early on, we want to be on the right side of it. And that is the upside today. It's just today I'm a little bit less sold on the upside than I was yesterday. I'm pretty bummed, like I was saying earlier, because we are really close to that 42.52 that we were talking about yesterday, and I debated with myself on leaving some trades on overnight and just didn't. But what can you do? Hindsight always is 2020, right? And good morning, by the way. So you see big volume pop in right there above the open. So it looks like some people are lifting the offer up here above the open. Let's see if we get a response from sellers, right? This is an opportunity for sellers to respond and really try to push that thing back down, but they're just not doing the best job here. Market looking to, if it shows some strength, there it is. We'll take that Globex high. Will be the first sign of buyers willing to initiate. And if you read the trade view, like I said, I think if this thing shows buyers early on, and if we get a break of the Globex high early on in a period, this thing could turn into a trend day on the upside, and you could start to see some capitulation from these weaker handed shorts and these hedge funds that we know are short according to the COT report. And you could really see a squeeze to the upside. I know a lot of videos that I watch, buyers or sellers trapped at the 39.5 right here. So okay, they got back. But it looks like they're trying to pile on that 39.5 and they're getting stuck down here right below the open. But it appears to me that we could see everyone just say, what, F it, and reverse their positions, right? All these short hedge funds that are over leveraged, that have really just been trying to pound the short side for such a long time, we could really see them start to capitulate and start to give up that short bias, right, and start to pile in. I saw a lot of things on YouTube yesterday saying like we're in a bull market now, right, and we were just in a bear market like a month ago, right? Everyone was saying, oh, the market's going to crash, the market's going to do this, the market's going to do that. So I think that if we see this early on, right now we're just seeing pretty much balance up here in the higher of the range. Saw no buyer show up here above the open. and then rotate back down. You can tell how volatile the market is right now, right? Really just bouncing around like crazy. Makes me, a little bit less optimistic for the market to get this continuation to the upside, but there's really no arguing with the market here, right? We've got a really strong breath today. Everything is pretty much saying that it wants to go up to the upside besides consumer discretionary, which is pulling back here. This is our third heaviest weighted sector, so that could drag the market down here a little bit. Tech isn't really, powering up to the upside, but for the most part, most of the sectors are green. So it's hard really to just decide, okay, you know what, I'm just going to get short.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Dad. Oh, Tesla's getting smacked? Oh, yeah, she is. Down about 0.5% already. That's what she deserves. I want to mark this Nasdaq open so we can...
What do you think about that Tesla split that's coming up in a couple of weeks? Think that's gonna
The split?
jump up or jump down? Yeah, it's got 3-to-1 split on the 24th.
Yeah, I saw that. 1, 3, 4, 8, 9. Let me put this on here real quick. Okay. I think that's going to be bullish for Tesla. Right, more people are going to be able to afford it. Tesla's trading, close to $900 right now, and break above, or if it 3-to-1 split, bring it around $300. It's going to make the options a little bit easier to manage. It's just going to make things easier to get traded. You know what I mean? So.
Well, that's great.
I mean, I feel like it dilutes it. They just did a split, but I mean, no one could have seen this meteoric rise that they had coming. I think, it was kind of kind of insane, really. Big impulse there. Weak spot 43. Let's see if they can hold it. They almost get up to that Globex high and aren't able to snag it there. Trading back down pretty quickly. What's that?
I just don't see how that distillable court has the authority to force a sale. Like I can see them forcing a dollar amount, but how do you force a person to buy something? Like how is that a legal remedy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't make somebody buy something, can you?
What do you mean?
Well, the distillable court's gonna make you
You're
buy
talking about with Twitter?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They can make him.
I mean,
they can make him because he's gone through enough. He's gone through enough due diligence. So I guess it depends on how the contract. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't know definitively, and I'm certainly not a lawyer, but it depends on how the contract was written. And if the contract was written in a way that does not give him an out based on the fact of the information he was given, they can, and they have, for other people, made them go through with the purchase because they had their opportunity to say that they didn't like it before the contract was signed or during that process, and still made them because of the fact of all of the monies that have been put in play and all of the things that have been put in play on the company side. So they can say
But
undue hardship.
What's gonna be interesting is that in disclosure they're gonna have to prove that they're not 80% bots over there. They probably are. They're probably worse than that.
Well, and that's a, but I think, and this is something that I don't know, and again, I don't know what's written in the contract, but it depends on how they divulged the information in the contract, stating as to what method they were using, and then there will have to be a determination if that is adequate. And at that point, it's a bunch of technical.
There's just no way they don't know how many bots there are. There's just no way they don't know that. You have to know. With IP addresses and all this,
I would say this. I would say this. I would be hard pressed to believe that you, and I'm not saying that you're not capable of this, But a Turing machine, so that like that Google AI that's so smart that that guy thinks it's alive, and now he's not willing to let them turn it off. It's the
What are
same
we talking
premise.
about?
buddy.
It's a
I don't
question
know
of
what it is.
how intelligent do you think that the code can be?
I guess, but I would think a company with as much technology as Twitter would know who's
It's all
real.
relative, dude. It's all relative.
Well, that's a
Just like
I mean,
it,
think about how many people I mean, there's no way to know how many bots are on your system, right? The money you would spend trying to figure that out would bankrupt your company.
well, and even so, I'll just give you case in point. So I wrote my bot, right?
Right.
The reality is that how many times have I not trusted it enough? Even though I'm the one that wrote it, I'm the one that figured out the algo, I'm the one that did all of the back testing. But some days I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm getting this thing out, and I sell it early, only to sell it. You know, the other day I sold it 268, and the freaking thing went to 950. I'm just saying, just because someone is intelligent enough to actually create the code that does the thing that it does, doesn't mean that they fully are capable of dealing with all of the potentialities of how it actually operates.
I don't know. Twitter's got a lot of brainiacs for him. I mean, one of the biggest
So
tech companies in the world.
I'll just say intelligence does not necessarily equate to omnipotence.
No, but they have the technology. I don't know.
You're like, I have faith in them. They could do it.
Well,
Yeah, see,
I just think that they actually know the answer and they're hiding it.
I mean, I think they could if they wanted,
Because it would
if they
destroy
cared,
them. If they give up the,
if they
I don't
cared
think
enough to spend the money. But the
Yeah.
thing is, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it to find out
Why-
because it doesn't matter to them. It doesn't.
Why-
it would kill
to
their,
them, it doesn't. Yeah.
their advertising budget or their advertising revenue.
They don't care. They don't. These big businesses don't care. They only care about the P&L. They care about turning over profits. Yeah, if they're getting revenue from bots, you know, whatever, they just want to make sure that they don't get into any lawsuits with these bots. Like Elon's going through this huge thing with his cars right now because they're fucking running over motorcyclists because they don't see him at night for some reason. You know, because he refuses to use radar, right?
Well,
Because
he's not making a motorcycle. Maybe he's trying to create a Tesla motorcycle that will evade.
the Teslas are running.
That was a joke.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're taking him off of the road, and then he's going to come out with a bike and say, "Hey, these won't allow you to get hit by cars."
A Tesla motorcycle.
It's a money-making opportunity.
And that's how he views everything. Is like, okay, how can I turn a profit off of this, right? I mean, he's doing an excellent job, and so Twitter's doing the same thing. And they basically, you know, it's kind of like, imagine if I came up to you and I was like, hey, you want to buy this computer monitor, and I'll sell it to you for $500, really knowing that it's not worth that much anymore because I've already used it, and there might be a little bit of something wrong with it, and then you get on social media because of the way that he is, right? He's very exuberant and very kind of flamboyant. And like
way flamboyant,
and he locks himself into these boxes. So I mean, they could force him to buy him, but then they will have to admit the thing. But really, they don't even care at that point because, you know, Savasque, it's done.
And here's the reason why they don't care. Cha-ching.
Exactly.
Because they're selling all their fucking shares.
Exactly.
Well, what'd be funny,
They're going to
Well,
buy
what-
that freaking island.
well, what I think would be hilarious is if the news gets out that he has to buy it, stock shoots up to like 70 or 80 bucks a share, and he only has to buy it for 54.
Well, it will.
That'd be
It
awesome.
will. If Elon does buy Twitter, Twitter will sky. People
He's only
don't
gotta buy it for
like
54.
Tesla's not even really like this crazy profitable company. It's that people believe in Elon. You know, that, I mean, when you've got a leader of a company that just is like the future, you know, they believe in that thing. It's like Apple. You know, I was reading this article, and it's like an Apple exec and Microsoft exec are sitting next to each other on a bus, and the Microsoft exec goes, "Hey, are Microsoft tablets way better than your iPad?" And the Apple exec looks at the Microsoft exec and goes, "You're probably right." And it pisses off the Microsoft exec because he wants to know, he wants a little bit of competition, but that's because they're so worried. Microsoft is so worried, and I'm just using this as a example. I don't know, if this is actually happening, but Microsoft's so worried about the competitor, whereas Apple doesn't give a shit about anyone. That's what's so powerful about Elon, is he doesn't give a shit about anybody else. He's only focused on what he wants to get done, and that's what makes him so successful, is that he is just hyper focused on doing what he's doing. That's why Apple's so successful, because they don't care what everyone else is doing. They're like, you don't like my iPad? Don't fucking buy it.
So here's the deal. Apple is not an innovator. Apple, other than the iPhone, for a long time, the iPhone and the iPod, other than that, there has not been any substantial
No,
innovation.
every model is the same thing.
Well, that's not relevant. I'm just saying that they're not
No.
innovators. They take
Plus, it's relevant.
they take
there's no new
something and they
feature
create
new.
a process for it that makes it usable or relatively easily usable. And that's for the common masses. I'll just say this.
Right.
One of the things that you learn very quickly as a programmer is that as soon as you create an idiot-proof program, the universe will create a better idiot. So no matter how easy or how simplified you make something, there will always be people who are not smart enough to figure it out. Back when I was young, like the whole idea, so I worked at a sound card company. People had to frickin' open their computer and add an actual slot card in, like people do for video cards. They had to add a sound card into their computer. If you said that to somebody nowadays, hey, I need you to open your computer. Mind you, if you're a gamer, sure, that would make perfect sense. But for the average person, if I said, hey, I need you to open up your computer, I need you to put in a card, they would shit themselves.
I was one of the first shops to have software. Dude, my first software came out 11 floppy disks.
I'm just saying that the average, the more simplified you make it, the larger the market, and that's what Apple is currently focusing on, is creating that simplified model which appeals to the larger market. Now, mind you, I run a Mac, and the reason why I run a Mac is because it does things that a Windows PC for me doesn't do. And I'm not saying you can't do it on a Windows PC. It's just a pain in the ass. So they have the ability of hitting the really tech crowd, which a lot of people I know that run Macs that are really, really heavy techie people who admin servers and do all that shit. And then the really, I just want to be able to push the power button and use my little cursor and click on shit and have things work. I mean, it hits both ends.
For
So,
sure.
Yeah, I think Austin's right. The App Store was just one of their best ideas ever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's freaking genius, because then it locked you in. Not only are you locked into their ecosystem because of all the apps that you're using, but it also creates a revenue stream. I mean, what was their App Store? I think it's like half their revenue stream is the freaking App Store.
And if you look now, they just released a product yesterday that's going to group all of their things together. So it's going to group like Apple Music, Apple TV, all their Apple subscription services together for the price of one. And so what does that do? What they always do, they just make things easy. And what do people want? They want it easy. People always want the easy way. And if they can only have to remember to pay one bill instead of 7 little bills, even though it's the same same relative price. Yeah, it's called Apple One. Thanks, Jim Cryptic.
Yeah, Apple
yeah,
One.
Apple One. Yeah, they're like, oh yes, thank you.
That's the niche that the Apple hits. That's what, and honestly, that's the same thing that Tesla does. And I'm not saying that Tesla is perfect at it yet. Tesla is definitely not Apple, and I will definitely say that. But I'll tell you right now, I had to have, like, I'm driving, so I was driving from Idaho to Texas, and it was like freaking 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm getting this error telling me that it can't do full self-drive because the camera isn't working, blah, blah, blah. And it would do this intermittently while I drive. I get to Texas, I open up a service request, said, hey, I'm getting this error. They go into the freaking computer, look at the log, see what my car is telling them, saying, yep, he's getting this error. All right, they set up a service call and said, hey, we'll be at your house between this time and this time on this day, and we'll come in. And the guy literally showed up yesterday. He's like, open the garage. I opened the garage, and I was like, all right, you good? He said, I'm good. I walk away, And then he texted me about 20 minutes later, said, "I'm done. I replaced replaced the camera. I'm good. You can close the garage. Thanks." And that's it. And I mean, that was my
That's
I
badass.
drove it to the dealer
I worked in service for a
moment.
long time. That's badass.
What was that?
I said, I've worked in service for a long time. That's badass.
Well, I'm just telling you that is simplified shit. You name any other car manufacturer that comes to your house to fix shit that's broken. There isn't one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's why Tesla is not, and not in a perfect way. Like I said, they certainly haven't reached the level of Apple, even though Apple has their own turds that they've created. But the point being is that over time they will get there because they're focused on the simplicity, not necessarily the product per se. I mean, obviously the product is important, but it's the simplicity.
There goes B spiking up high. We get above that Globex high. So like I said, this thing, we didn't see these initiated sellers early on in the market today. We really could see this thing turn into a big time trend. So you know, if you are deciding today's the day that you decided that the market's going to crash, you know, just be careful here.
Well, the bot is kicking ass so far, just saying.
Nasdaq's breaking up above its high.
I'm up 40% so far.
Nice. A little bit of backing and filling here. You can see the offer came in right there on that 48 and 50 being that, you know, 42, 50, really psychological number. There's probably going to be some selling up there. So a little auction back down to find some more buyers. Volume coming in right here, right at that 42.45. So let's see if these buyers step up and hold here. Look like a spot where the impulse started from was right here. See the point of control shift up. Let me pull this over real quick. You can see the sectors here. Zoom in a bit. Pretty much all of them turning to the upside here. XLK, this technology sector, really starting to gas here, right? Something that we've been talking about needs to happen if the market is going to be breaking out to that upside, and it does look like that's the case here so far, right? And like I said, I think this thing could, you know, possibly turn into a fairly large trend day if we see capitulation around the horn. So we've got XLK breaking up, healthcare recovered nicely, it's still holding up on the high, XLY getting back above its open, XLF financials breaking up to the high, communication services, industrial, even consumer staples recovered, energy still doing well, utilities even doing well, materials even doing well, and real estate, you know, below its open, but nobody gives a shit about real estate, so let's be honest.
But you were just saying you think the market's going down?
No, what? No.
Okay, I thought you just said. I was like, what? Sorry.
Oh no. No, I said it's hard for me to want to try to trade the market down just because everything is saying to go up. Right?
Oh,
We've got a really strong breadth. We've got really strong weighted sectors. Almost every sector is green. Even the Nasdaq pulling us up, which was kind of the weak sector yesterday. You know, and we expect some mechanical selling right here at this 42.50. At least I expect some mechanical selling at 42.50 naturally, just because of it's just like a nice round psychological number. God damn it, what fucking number is this? Okay, there we go. So 600 lot order sitting on the 42.50 here. Little competition up here from these sellers. You still get an offer moving down here right below that 50. But it doesn't look like they're doing much. Not really any aggression yet. Some stacking here. You just wonder, like, you know, like I'm just thinking, like, eventually there's just going to be capitulation or just a margin call. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about how a margin call works, you know, T2 levels, we're just so far past that T2 level that it just makes sense if, you know, if these guys can't really get this continuation above, or can't get this market to move down at all, then that we're just, you know, keep rotating up and squeezing them up. It's nice. I mean, I hope this thing goes up all fucking day now. Weak spot here is at 51.75. Look for some back end and filling there. But I mean, this is kind of what we talked about early on in the market, right? If we didn't see any strong selling early on, and you know, strong selling should have taken us back to this 42.22, then this thing could easily turn into a rather large trend day to the upside. So we just want to be careful here. You can see that 50, all those offers got lifted. 563 traded right there on the 50. That's the weak spot of the profile here below. Call count's still climbing. Seen some other orders on 55. Where's my mouse at? 55, and then at 60, and then at 65. You know, so every 5 typically indicates to me. Oh, there's some orders moving down here. Okay. Sellers are like, I want the 50 back. So let's see what they get. Right, we don't, I mean, I'm not sold on either or. It's just, you know, it's really hard to just decide like, oh, let me just get short from up here because nothing's telling us really that there's going to be any downside. So I've got alerts set on all the sector's lows yesterday. So if we were, I mean, I guess I could set it on the sector's highs now, where see if we close the gap, because most of them opened up on a gap. A lot of them didn't even trade below their open.
Order submitted.
Go back to that 50 where we saw a lot of buyers step in. Let's see if they do a little bit of backing and filling here. You can see our first little half pipe, and we could even consider this, you know, single prints. We call them Brad prints now at this point. You know, when I write the book, that's why I'm gonna write them as Brad prints. If nobody likes it, then just no one will read the book. But you know, oh well. But so this area here, you know, we kind of just view it as support, right, or like a little trampoline. You guys ever seen a trampoline before?
Did you hear what I just said? My computer cut out. I don't know if you guys heard.
Oh no, we didn't hear you.
The Tesla thing's kind of pissed me off because you know, they got this court date already. Now I was trying to sue this company before COVID started, and they just put me off till 2026. The court date.
You're trying to sue. You're trying to sue Tesla?
Yeah.
Good luck, bro. How much cash do you got? You gotta have some cash to sue Tesla.
I guess so, because I'm like I'll forget about it by then. Shit.
Yeah. I mean, Elon, like the cars, like, yeah, you know, if somebody dies in one of his cars, he's just like, yeah, here's like 10 mil, right? Now piss off.
You only need cash to sue someone if you plan on winning.
Yeah. There you go.
Jared's like, here's my money. Here you go.
Where is Jared? I haven't heard from Jared since yesterday. I'm worried about the guy.
Oh, that's right. I guess he hasn't been on in a while, has he?
He was on yesterday for a little bit, and then he said he got smacked on the pullback, but I haven't heard from him in a little bit.
That's been a real big smack. Smack off the whole internet.
Normally it is.
You know, Stacey, I gotta say, your photo here looks like it should be in like one of those stock photos when you buy a frame.
I had it taken by a family friend. This is, I mean, it's probably 2015. It's a little old. It's not as new. But anyway, he took that picture, and my kids were all, take a picture with him holding his phone, because of course that's the way they saw me most of the time, is me holding my phone. And so that was the picture I picked, and then it seemed very work worthy, and that's kind of the picture that I use. This is my work computer or my work Zoom that I connect on. So.
So no real pushback down into this trampoline area here. We're kind of just seeing volume building higher. You're seeing, look at all the volume stepping up above that 50, and looks like we're about to continue extending the range to the upside. And if we take a peek over here at our daily chart, like we talked about here, another gap to the upside, but that 4303 looks like the target here, with that 200 SMA really just sitting right above it, 4313. As the target, it looks like above. I mean, you can just see how weak this level is, and then above that, that lower balance, 4365 is above. So, oops, ruined my trampoline. Yeah, buddy. Some gummy bears? No, it's 10 o'clock. Nope, no email back yet. We haven't won a Nintendo Switch yet.
We're gonna win a Nintendo.
I don't know what we're gonna win. I don't know if we'll win anything. I have to get lucky. But with my luck and your luck combined, Curtis, we're pretty good. So here's that 55. You can see, like, these are those orders just kind of stacking every 5, and to me that is more of a representation of that capitulation from these hedge funds and stuff that have been short this whole time, and we're really seeing stuff start to gas, right? Apple is actually lagging behind everyone else, only up 0.89, but AMD's up 2.5%, Amazon's up a full percent, Google's up 1.5% as well. Meta even doing okay, up about 2.25%. Microsoft is the lagger actually, only up about 0.3. Netflix doing well. Netflix looking like its old self again all of a sudden. And if we
3.7.
If we jump up Netflix is into this gap, right? And so if it's a large gap, and you could see, like I said, the capitulation just fuel this fire to the upside. This is the first time we've seen tapering off the top. So a little bit of struggling here from these buyers to really take that 55 right away, but still pretty evenly traded up at the top, it looks like. And then Tesla, Tesla is just kind of sitting in its previous balance zone. So if we look, the rest of the Nasdaq, and slow computer, we had this consolidation point above this lower area. Tesla's still kind of stuck in it, right? And if we look at the Nasdaq itself, we can see Nasdaq is pretty far above it. So here's that same consolidation zone. There was another one above, but Netflix is breaking above it, and this is kind of like that area that we see on the ES, right? That 4303 on the ES. We look on Tesla here, the Nasdaq, and the Nasdaq's breaking out above it. So the fuel for the upside is really just, you know, it's on fire. Order filled. Who's that? Starting to see some offers try to stack right here on this 55, trying to hold the price down a little bit. A lot of trading going on at 53.75, and they got captured. Captured. Still 15 minutes until C period, so it looks like, you know, barring some news or some huge move back down, there's going to be a bit of single prints below. A lot of A single prints, a lot of B single prints, two rather large gaps, right? If we squish this thing all the way down, see this huge gap from yesterday, and then, you know, pretty much from here until this gap, or until about right here, that prior day high is another gap. So, you know, two really large gaps forming, and typically is an indication when you have gaps at the top of balance, indication of an other time frame trader, as Jim Dalton calls it, entering the market. That's normally what causes gaps, that long money. I like that term better, long money. I got that long money. Sounds cooler.
That's a good one.
AMD is just powering up. The Nasdaq, you can see, just, you know, taking out the highs here. Okay, you want me to go? No. Okay. Thanks. So on any retest of this 53.75, that's where we'll look to see buyers show up, as we could see all the volume that came in up there. But when we're not seeing the point of control shift up like this, it's really just because there hasn't been enough time spent, right? I mean, we're not getting any rotations really. There's really no pullbacks, and that's telling of retail traders trying to short the highs and just getting stuck, and then just squeezed out of their positions back to the upside. Or poor saps. Not bad for, yeah, $500, yeah. That's what I always say, 500 a day keeps the job away.
Yeah. Crypto's pulling back right now too.
I wanted to share this too. So I was doing some looking at, I have the bars on hidden. Here they are here, but so I was doing some looking back at long-term ranges, right? Something Jim talks about in his long-term profiles here. And so you can see with these profiles, that next move up really kind of indicates, for the most part, especially if we just kind of group it in from here, the next point of control, or the next high volume area, is that 43.84. And then there is one here, 43.22, which is kind of the target here, 43.03, 43.17, or that 200 SMA. But above that, we're looking at that 44.61 area on the long-term look. And you can see, yeah, Bitcoin is kind of struggling up here at the highs comparatively to the ES. Big bids just showing up down here. Oh shit, I'm in Spanish now? Bro, what the fuck? I think that wasn't even Spanish. That was Portuguese, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Portuguese.
What happened on my trading view? Oh, I need to switch the language back.
Did you switch it?
I don't
Did you
think
switch
so.
back, or is it still?
I just
Portuguese?
closed it to see if it's gonna switch back. Oh no, it's in Spanish still, or it's in Portuguese. It looks like. Here we go, English.
Well, you know what they say. The best way to learn a language is immersion. So, dude, freaking just step up and quit being a bitch about it.
Well, Spanish I have a pretty good grasp on, but Portuguese is like, you know, it's like a
It's
fucking.
different.
It's
It's
weird.
very different.
Very different.
Yeah, AMD did a pullback. Yeah, the bot could see it. It saw the pullback coming. Not huge, but a little bit.
Could you send me the link to the daily setup of the vol when you finish today? You're talking about on TradingView, Tommy? So basically all I did was this. I'll just show you because I don't know if I can send it and it will stay. But basically all I did was I took the bars and then I used this fixed range volume profile here. And then I just grabbed like a swing high and a swing low and just grouped them in, and then I turned the bars off to just, you know, eliminate some of the noise. That's all I did. And then this one is just like the, you know, whatever bars are showing. That's why I dragged it over here so we could see it. Yeah, it was just like a grab. And I just was working on this a little bit last night. I'm trying to figure out how to get a continuous contract working on Sierra charts, because that would give us more accurate data, because volume over time really is not as accurate as time over time. You know what I mean? Like a TPO. I know some people aren't really huge fans of the time, but in my opinion and in my experience, time, you know, unless the time has no volume on it, but typically any amount of time spent or more time spent is going to occur more volume. So I'd like to try to figure that out. That's what I was going to try to actually figure out after the stream today. I was just messing around last night while the kids were getting ready for bed. But yeah, I mean, I could send it to you if you want. I just don't think it's it would be actually cooler if you recreate it yourself and then we compare. That would be cool, because then we could see where I'm viewing my swing highs and swing lows and you're viewing your swing highs and swing lows, and then we can come up with relative levels. I mean, that's all I did was just use that fixed range volume profile. Maya, turn that air conditioner back on. So a little bit of excess up here at the top, right? And what would confirm excess? What's the link for checking the sector weights? Oh, here it is. Turn the air conditioner back on, please. Yeah, take them out. Yeah. Here's that link. Well, let me post it for you.
Is that the one where it puts them in percentage sector links? The sector weights?
Yeah, it has all the sector weights on this website right here, the Select Spiders website. Is that the one you were looking for, Rob? This one right here, like this indicator right here, I bought from Shadow Trader. There is another one that I posted in the Discord that's a free one, but it's not this one. It's very similar. Someone seemed like they probably ripped off the Shadow Trader one, but
We're in Discord.
it's not like a huge. It's not like a huge. Let me see where I posted it at. I think I posted it in futures. Did I pin it? Yeah, I pinned it in futures. So just click on the pin in futures. It's from the ThinkScript community. Someone posted it in there. So look, the VPOC shifts up here. We've got about 4 minutes until C period opens up. Looking still like we're going to open up with some single prints. We've got large excess on both sides opening up in that section. We're going to be seeing buying come in right here is what it looks like to me. So really C period should give us a little bit more information. I've got the news on. Oh, you have the same one from Shadow, but your colors don't fade. Just go back to the Shadow Trader and get the updated one. This is their update. They updated it to make the colors fade. Big buy order on the 5,236 lots right there. You updated your profile pic? The profile pictures are so small that I can't really see them. So, plus I know what you look like.
Where do you update those profile pics at?
Probably on the website. Ann. Hey, Ann. Did Colleen call you? Okay. Well, old fucking lover boy's got COVID, and so we're not gonna see Colleen or Nora today. Nope. And Colleen's like, well, I think Nora's fine. Like, well,
Hey,
she's exposed.
Progressive.
Yeah, it's stupid.
But it's not monkeypox.
You're just making
Progressive
dumbass excuses.
To answer your question, it's my own personal.
Yeah.
It's the data that I created. I created my own trending data so that I could watch it. That's the data that it was looking at, that it saw the pullback.
Yeah, and you'd have to have like, you know, you can need a couple of days and like a coder's brain to understand him explain it anyway. So
you'd have to have like freaking a PhD. It's not, I mean, it's not crazy complicated, but it is not, I mean, it's my secret sauce. So sorry. I'll just tell you that it uses data that I created. I guess cumulative data that I created. So it's based off of data that's coming out of the ticker data that I'm downloading. And from that, I create my own trending algorithm that tells it what to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you. Appreciate that.
Cool.
Just FYI, I finished the 3rd boot camp this morning, downloaded the bazillion page manual on market profile. Oh yeah. Been with your other buddy Charles for a while. Oh, nice. Yeah, well, glad to have you. Yeah. Yeah,
Wait till number
Charles.
4. That's
Charles was fun to converse with. I liked him. He seemed like a really cool dude. So we see C period open up here. We got some single prints early on. Let's see if they look to close them. This area of resistance here now becomes that 52 level where we see a lot of, or really like 52 to 55 level, where we see a lot of the volume come in. You know, so We'll look to see if it can climb above that hold, and that could give us a little bit of indication that they want to keep on keeping on. Oh, excuse me. Only one contract traded on that C low. $25 contracts trade on that C high there. Part 4 is mind-blowing. I thought they were all fun. I mean, they were all just long, right? We were just chilling on there for a long time for a lot of them, but they were all fun, I thought.
No, though there really is. Though one of them was really good. The one where I'm not sure which one it was though, but we kind of stayed afterwards and we kind of went back and reviewed everything from that day. You know what I'm saying? Remember that one?
Yeah.
It's like an extra 3 hours, kind of going back over. You know, it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the after parts were a lot more like, yeah. And that's the thing is like you can what does that guy say? I was reading this quote yesterday. Let me just find it because I'm pissed if I can't remember it. Buyers look to be lifting the offer here too, so just notice that. Let me see where this was at. Oh, it's much learning does not teach understanding. Heracles said that. If I'm probably butchering that name, right? I'm not the best at names, but you know, that's, to me, that resonates so much because when you think about something like that, you're like, oh shit, you know, that makes complete sense because you can read and 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 you know every rule and you know everything, but if you can't apply the lessons, then like it says, much learning does not teach understanding. You know, having have
And chocolate.
just bolus for it, please. No, I will not. Go to the table and do it. You see I'm busy right now, right? Okay. So in Jim Dalton's book, he has a thing that says a high school teacher tells the story of a frustrating day in his career. He was lecturing on the bravery of American soldiers during the fight for independence. On this particular day, he became quite dramatic and descriptive, vividly portraying the battlefields and the courage of their forefathers. He described the freezing cold winter, the meager rations, and the eloquent words of Washington that kept the men's spirits high. The teacher was trying to give his students a feeling for what it was like to fight for one's country, the self-sacrifice that led to our freedom from England so many years ago. The class was nearing its end, and the student raised his hand. The teacher said yes. He said, "Will this be on the test?" The teacher was trying to give his students an understanding of the cost of freedom, but the boy who raised his hand was so worried of what he had to know for the test that he missed the point entirely. And so for me, this resonates really well, especially when we're in a basic land of uncertainty, right? There is no certainties in the market. And so if you can study and study and study and study the market and, you know, think that you have this, you know, huge understanding and this large grasp on the market, but if you can't apply it, or if that's just what you're focused on, you're just focused on, you know, knowing what you think are the important parts, it makes it almost impossible for application. And so that's why I loved that. And, you know, this is a long story, short story long, but that's why I really did love that you know, after the class talks, because we really got to get inside people's brains and you know, decide like, okay, hey, this is what's going on here, and how are you interpreting it, and is there a way that we can try to help you interpret it in a more constructive way or an easier understanding way? Because you know, the way that I understand things or the way that I articulate things just might not resonate for you, right? There's people that can learn better from other people, like let's say Charles, for instance, right? He teaches things different than I do. I'm sure I haven't really you know, I haven't been in like any of his classes or anything like that, but or even Jim, right? Jim teaches things different than I do. Jim's a lot more professional. He doesn't really like to mess around. He doesn't really answer a lot of basic questions because he expects you to do that yourself, right? He's more of like a professor in college, you know, that you're going into an algebra 2 class. They expect you to know algebra 1, and they don't want to spend their time teaching you algebra 1 when that's not what you're here to learn, right? But for me, I understand that everyone's at different paths of their journey, and we welcome all. And you know, I actually encourage people to ask as many questions as possible. You know, and I would love to do another one of those boot camps. The only thing is that it just takes so much time. It takes so much of my time to do that. And you guys know how important I value my time. That's like the number one thing. I value my time more than I value money. So, ooh, and running, and running. I need to get a little meme of that. So here we go. Also, you guys thought I was about to bust a rap, huh? Sounded like it. But so if C period extends past B period, that's really showing us conviction of buyers pushing to the upside here. If C period fails to take B, we could just be seeing a little bit of short covering in C period. We still have about 13 minutes left in C period, but really it's just going to show conviction of buyers. And I mean, if we look at everything here, we've got the breadth at 6-1 on the NYSE, almost 6-1 on the Nasdaq. Every sector in the market is green. You know, there's almost just no reason to try to fight this, and a break of this B high is probably going to just, you know, just send the market on a missile. And really, we're getting close to that last move, and this is from March. If you guys remember the big move down where it started, where's the ES at? The big move down where it started was back here. Well, this is April, but really, you know, back here in March, which is when that news came out from the Fed. We had that big update, then a gap down, and then that basically swing high to swing low here started impulse from that 4307. So it would make sense, like if that's where they try to get. Seeing a little bit of pullback off that C high here, though. Where is it? Nasdaq. The name of that book is called Mind Over Markets by Jim Dalton. If you go to the Discord, Rob, and click on here, I'll just pull up the Discord here. If you go to general chat and click on pin messages and then click on Lord MacGyver, click jump. He posted all of these books. You know, some of them, I mean, I haven't read all of them, but both of Jim's books are in here. These top
Isn't there
two.
a recommended book channel?
Yeah, there's a recommended book channel. Where's it? I thought there was. Yeah, books to read, and these are all books that I've read in here, and these are all different books in here that you should read, but they're not all about trading, right? And for me, you know, I'm a big believer that the market is pretty much, for the most part, almost 100% psychological, and if you can really gain control of your psychology, then you know you're going to be better off. And a lot of these books really give you a deep dive into thinking in a different perspective, right? And I think if you're able to start kind of thinking outside the box, or push the limits of your brain, you can do a lot of good for yourself. Well, buddy. Doesn't say on the bag. $11 carbs per 6 M&Ms. So however many you eat, count that. Yeah, Mind Over Markets is on Audible. Yeah, that quote that I read was in well, the teacher quote was in was Jim's book, and then that other quote is in Jim's book as well, where he talks about much learning does not teach understanding. Coming back down, looking to close those single prints here. Let's see what the market's got. Remember yesterday we pretty much had one single print holding on for the longest time. Ended up closing it late in the day, but as soon as we got back below it, you saw a lot of buying show up. Pushing right down here on the half back. 25 contracts straight on that low. Weak spot is above 48.75, 49. But yeah, if you haven't read, I mean, you should really read both of Jim's books. They're like the building blocks of understanding the TPO. And then Jim has, I mean, just he's been in the game since the creation. So, when you want to develop a understanding of something, and I mean, he was right there when it came to fruition. That's the best person to learn from. And I'd love to tell you guys that I'm the best, or that I am just as good as Jim. But the thing is that you can't teach experience, and he just has, he's got more experience than I am years old. You did field divisions? Yeah, that was great. I like field divisions too. The thing about Jim's courses and stuff is that they're pricey, right? Even Jim's books are expensive compared to most books. They're $50 each. But the value of that is, it's not replaceable with anything else, really.
It's the value of anything. If you use it, then it's worth it. But if it's going to frickin' sit on a shelf, which is what it would be for most people. Well, I guess in this case on your phone, because of course it would be digital, but still.
That's the crazy thing about Audible is, like, because I wasn't always the biggest book reader. Well, yeah, it's a subscription, but I wasn't always a big book reader, and then I started listening to books. And then as I'm listening to books, I'm like, I want the book. And then I started buying all the books that I'm reading because I want to have them so I can reference them back. It's a little bit easier to reference back into a book than it is to, reference into a
Audible file.
into an Audible file. Yeah. Or
well,
even
you're just like,
even a PDF.
At chapter blah blah blah, at time marker blah blah blah, and then you highlight. You're like, what the hell does that mean?
Right. And that's why I like that Good Notes app. That Good Notes app is amazing. You can get the PDFs in there, and then you can take notes like right there on the side, and you can just label everything. Just help you stay like really organized. Whereas like if you're reading an Audible book, a lot of times the software is touchy, and I don't know how many times I've accidentally pressed the wrong button when I'm reading a book, and it's like back to the beginning of the book, and I'm like, fuck. And I'm just like here scanning forward, scanning back, scanning forward, trying to figure out where I was at in the book.
What you need is an Apple device.
Well, that's why I got an iPad.
No, I was fucking with you.
I got the iPad.
Is that the Kindle app?
No, it's I use Audible.
E-reader?
I just use Audible on there. But
Oh,
I mean, I
Audible
haven't.
has digital. No, I'm sorry, the script versions, or are you talking about the audio goes all the way to the back?
Oh, I just use the audio from Audible, but I have like I just downloaded a bunch of PDFs and then I email them to GoodNotes. When you buy GoodNotes, it comes like with an email.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just
But like
email it
you
in
were
there.
saying, then when it goes all the way to the back, what app is that you're looking at?
Oh,
The
that's
book.
Audible. Yeah,
Okay, really?
Audible.
Audible actually gives you the textual version of it.
No, no, no. I'm talking like it skips back to the beginning of the book, like
Oh,
and starts
just in the
reading it
audio.
again.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, now I understand. Okay.
And especially because a lot of times I'm reading a couple of books at a time or listening to a couple of books at a time. And so like I'll switch books and then go to switch back and I've got like, fat fingers and
Do you have multiple people listening on the same Audible account?
no.
Okay, because that would do that too.
Oh yeah, no.
Because it basically keeps track of it for one person, and if multiple people are listening, then it would reset it for everyone.
Oh, yeah. My wife doesn't, she's not an Audible person. She'd rather just have it in hand and read it. But I like to, I like to put on a book, especially if you've already read it before you put it on and you can like get a workout in. I listen to a lot of books while I'm working out or doing yard work or just doing whatever. Okay. Bless you. A lot of volume coming in down here on this 47, which is basically the half back. So it looks like buyers are stepping up similar to where they did yesterday's half back. All counts, put counts are even, 66, 67. Yeah, so we're seeing a little bit of a pullback in the market. We look here on the weighted sectors, you're seeing XLK get some downside here, little tick below B there. Right, coming back down below its open, not below its low, but definitely coming back down below its open. Remember, these are 15-minute charts, not 30. But XLV still looking strong. That's healthcare. That was the weaker sector yesterday. XLY pulling back. Financials still holding up above its open. Communications coming right down to its open. Industrials still one time framing to the upside. Staples still looking strong. Energy still looking fairly strong. Utilities and materials still looking okay. And then real estate actually doing okay as well.
Right, is that your computer that makes that ting noise?
Yeah, I got an alert from Thinkorswim right there.
I started looking at my alerts. I'm like, what is that? Okay, it's good.
Yeah, that alert was Amazon breaking below my alert. Yeah, Tommy, I'm on one tick. Yeah, so we see Amazon breaking down pretty decent here, and information technologies flipped to red.
I'm gonna have to change my alert sound.
Oh, do you have a similar one?
Yeah, the exact one. So it's like confusing me. I was like, what? It's probably the default.
What's interesting here is like the tempo really isn't picking up as we get to the lows, right? So we get to these lows here, and we're not really seeing a big tempo pick up at least, right? And especially you see the unweighted sectors together are really still holding strong. It's just the weighted sectors really causing this pullback. So it makes sense to get some profit taking as we get up high, and that's what seems like happened here, up at these highs, but it's just not picking up the tempo to the downside. But remember, today we want to stay cautiously optimistic. You know, I do love some upside, and especially if this thing does start to trend. But like we said, if C period took B period, that would really tell us that we're getting that capitulation from these sellers and that buyers are stepping up. We just haven't seen that yet. We only have about 9 minutes left, but we are starting to see the buyers come back in up here. You see information technology trying to turn itself around. Microsoft struggling here still. Tesla's still struggling, down 1% now. You know, even Amazon just barely holding up above yesterday's close. Apple's basically right at today's open.
Hey, who can recommend a good VPN? I'm using Surfshark and it is slowing me down.
Not sure.
Try NordVPN.
Say again?
OFC, NordVPN. DJ said NordVPN too.
I'll check him out. Thanks, guys.
I don't know if I told you guys, Jim announced his new intensive. Let me pull up his website here. Let's look at the volume real quick. About 10% more in that B period. We've got 6 minutes left until C period closes. You're starting to see the market get a little bit jumpy here, which is making me a little bit nervous. Courses. Yeah, he announced his fall intensive October 6th through November 3rd. So, if any of you guys wanted to jump on that, there is, I mean, I think it's definitely worth it. You can get that foundation e-course and fall intensive bundle for $21.98. You can get the fall intensive itself if you've already done the foundational e-course. Then you can get the e-course and the advanced e-course bundle for $3,300. And if you already have the basic course, you can get the whatever it's called, advanced and the fall intensive. And then he has his other courses down here separately. But if you don't have any $3,300, you can get all of them at the same time. And I think it's worth it. I know it's just pricey, but worth it. The reason I'm using one tick now is because the VIX is had that close below 20 yesterday, and still holding below 20. I know we're right below, but you know, if we do finish up above 20 today, I'll switch back to 2. That's basically just kind of how I'm doing it. Yeah, I know it has, right, Tommy? Like, I mean, we haven't been below 20 in feels like ages. Bitcoin pulling back here a bit too. Excuse me. Yeah, when it's on one tick, it does feel a lot more jumpy. Yeah, that's true. The book's starting to thicken up a little bit here, though. Starting to see a little bit more participation, it looks like. Here we go. We've got about 2 minutes left until we get D period. We see that VPOC shift back down again. So now we'll look to see, is value going to continue to develop in this kind of balance, right? We've got B excess, a lot of single prints on the low of A. But really that 42.50 level has kind of been the battleground back and forth here. Kind of a little ping pong between those two levels. That, well, like 45 to 55, I guess, is really more of like the battleground here. Counts are more or less even. We're seeing XLK gain some support on its open, coming back up above its open right now. Starting to see XLV really get some strength. Where's XLV at? We can see XLV make this bigger. Actually, let's just go to this chart here. You can see XLV really just trying to hold. It kind of back tested this long-term support level and is pretty much holding right above that 200 SMA on the daily chart. And this is healthcare here, XLV. So looking pretty strong there. Like a little bit of short covering right there on that 47. Watch how it bounces here. D periods opening up. Yeah, I've been used to the 2 tick as well. You know, I honestly kind of think, like, especially with ranges like this, we've got a pretty wide range. We're talking 30 to 60. Well, I guess it just seems wider because of the profile, so it's really not that big of a range, 30 points. But it does seem like it helps you stay a little bit more patient. And if it does, there's nothing wrong with staying on the 2 ticks. That's just, just your own personal preference. I just like to see, with the low volatility, a little bit easier to see mechanical references for me. What do you have it now? Okay. Yeah. No? Where is it? No. You just had it. Are you hungry? Yeah then. Turn that air conditioner back on, Curtis. A lot of volume coming in here on that 45. There's a break of that C low there. And just like that, we're one time framing to the downside here. You can see the tick is starting to come down pretty good. Coming back down to that open here. Little short covering down there on the 42. Back inside the C range here. That offers on the 45 here above. We've got the weak spot on the profile above 43.50. Starting to see XLK start to pick up some steam here on the downside. Start picking up below its low. Cancel the low one. Move this one. But I mean, you can see, you know, some pullback here in some of the sectors. XLI still holding pretty strong. Staples still holding pretty well. Energy still looking pretty strong. Right, still pushing up above its highs, but not as heavy of a weight. Counts are starting to switch towards the put as well. Volume coming in down here on this 42 as well. Looks like sellers are struggling a little bit here. Maybe some mechanical buyers buying the open though. So you could see just some absorption here trying above the open. People looking to hold the market above the open. A little bit of liquidation there. Tempo starting to pick up. Big seller on the 38.75, 113 lots. Big turnaround here. Look at the weighted sectors turning negative here. Boom. Big seller moving down there. Yeah, you will. Later. What are you doing right now? Yeah. So some excess here on the low now. Keep pushing down. I get a chance for that trade setup that I was waiting for. I'd like to see buyers really, start initiating new longs up here at this 42.22 if the market does get down there. Remember, we still have that gap all the way down to that 42.13, so there's still a rather large gap down to the low side. Looks like that bot got out right at the right spot. So the ES is trying to fill the gap here. Let's see if sellers keep moving down and keep trying to push this thing down towards the gap. Remember, 42.13 is that gap low or gap high, or no, gap low, I guess. Yeah, okay, the gap low. Offer came in 32.75. We've got a weak spot on the profile 35 to 36. Another weak spot above, from like 38.50 all the way to like 40.50. So it really looked like a bit of capitulation or liquidation from that open. We saw some volume come in above the open. Buyers tried to step up when they realized they didn't have the sauce to hold it. They just started liquidating, and that probably put a lot of longs that were still holding from up here liquidating as well below the open, and caused a pretty range extension there below the A low. For the most part, though, the profile does look pretty balanced, honestly. Like if you look at it, it's kind of just excess on the high, excess on the low now. So, but we are one time framing down, right? B, C, D now. A lot of volume coming in down here. That tick got a little bit overextended there. It's coming back up above 600, but not really, you know, didn't really get below that 1000. So look how much the breath has cooled off too. Let's switch back to the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is really kind of driving this thing lower. Where's the Nasdaq at? Yeah, Nasdaq's leading the charge to the downside, heading back to that long-term trend that we've been tracking here. Pretty far below its open. There we go. It's a good view. A little bit of short covering down there on that 30, 29, 75 level. Let's see if buyers step up. So if buyers do step up or confirm that buyers are stepping up at that level, we definitely probably break above that 35.50 and try to clean up that some of those weak spots, 37, 38 half, 40 half, which is like the open. Yeah, 40 half is the open. Seller came in right there. We saw that. So offers still sitting on the 34. Weak spot from 35. You know, I mean, the profile looks like shit basically from like 35 to 37, and then again from like 38 half to 40 half. Pretty decent response here from these on the tick here. You see the volume is a lot less than yesterday. It's looking so far. Let me look at the overall volume. Visual trader shorted the Dow for 142 points. Nice reversal candles on the 15-minute charts. Nice, bro. Good stuff. My volume in C period was about 12%, so still increased volume. Offer still trying to hold this 34 here. See where the volume is moving down right here above this 34, and see, look how thin the profile is. You got 92 contracts there, 68 here, 174 here, 100 here, right? So there's some weak spots up above that these sellers still could move down below the open to try to defend this low, but 34 is kind of their first push so far. So let's see, here it comes at 35. They're still holding. A break above this, like I said, they could try to clean up this profile. If these sellers are serious, you'd see some backing and filling of this area here, which would, you know, bring that open back into question. You want to see sellers, you know, if they're going to continue to try to close the gap and get down at least to this VPOC from the overnight session, they should look to try to trade down to that, what's it called? Down below the open where the profile, I mean, it's super thin. You even see all the way up here, 554 contracts, really, really thin for the most part. A little bit of offering coming in on the 36 there. So you are seeing a little bit of backing and filling here from these sellers, and they're starting to offer this 36. Accounts are starting to tip. If you are watching us for the first time on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button so you can get notified when we go live every single day. And if you are interested in joining a community of like-minded traders, just let me know in the chat, or if you're watching this video on replay, just send me an email at brad@thetradevets.com and I will email you the link to the Discord. If you scroll below the video and click on the Discord link and it doesn't work, it's intentional, so don't think that you're reaching an error or that the link's broken. It's an intentional fault so we don't get a bunch of bots. The only thing that we ask is that you be positive and respectful. We're a community of like-minded risk managers that are all at different spots on our journey toward being profitable traders in the long term. So try to keep it, with the least amount of hate as possible. So look, they do a little bit of backing and filling up there on that 36, and they actually hold that level. Now they're taking the low even farther. 22 contracts traded on that low. Weighted sector still heading down. The breadth is still fairly positive, but they are getting some downside here. Starting to see a little bit of liquidation from these buyers. Offers are still moving down. Coming back to that Globex point of control. So this looks like an area where we could see a decent reaction, or where, I'm kind of looking for these buyers to step up and try to at least, tempt the market in some for buyers to initiate, really. Looks like they're front running that point of control a little bit. You're seeing a pretty strong bounce off that level here. Now let's see, weak spot up above's around that 29. Where did we get that offer from last time? 35 is what I have written down. So we're still, still sellers are still looking to hold control here. 10 more minutes left in D period. Now we're gonna, looks like there's a good opportunity to open up on single prints to the downside. So we opened up single prints to the upside. C period wasn't able to auction above B. Now what we'll look for is with E period getting ready to open up. Hopefully we don't get the market slow down. But look for it to hold those singles and continue to try to close that gap. Or if it does close those single prints, right, and there's a failure to take, that E low fails to take D low, there's good opportunity there for a long if, depending upon, and you're able to manage risk a little bit here with using the D low as your backstop, or even that overnight point of control, looking to trade it back into value, which is up here for TPOs. A little decent bounce here. See if this 35 area acts as resistance again. So a pretty decent response off that low here, right? A lot of shorts probably got trapped in there, probably seeing a little bit of short covering, but no, what we'll know if there's a buyer, like I said, is if they fill in some of this weak, or if they take some of these weak levels up above. We've got a selling tail on the top, rather large buying tail on the bottom, which I'm not really convinced of. More just, to me, just looks like short covering. These shorts got a chance to breathe again and are starting to cover down here. Remember, we can just assume that there's still, with this gap, we still have shorts trapped down here in this gap. So they're, as they get closer and closer to close the gap, they've really got to make that decision. Okay, you know, do I need to cut this trade? Do I need to do what I got to do to make this trade a little bit less bad as it was? A little bit of volume coming in down there on the 30. 3 minutes until this next period opens up. So it's going to be tight if we open up with single prints or not here. So E period opens up. Not really, no, no singles here. Let's see. Looks like, yeah, it looks like it opened up right on the A low. I'm still just kind of sitting here. I'd like it to come down to that 22 so I could get a fill here, but kind of just waiting to see if we're going to get any strength here. A lot of single prints down here below us. A little bit of some, some upside coming in here. Like we said, we watch this weak spot here. What was it? 30, yeah, basically, I mean, starting 36.75 all the way up to the open 40.50 was pretty weak. So if these sellers are going to come down and move, that's where they'll look to backfill. We did see a lot of volume coming in down here at these lows, and we saw them hold that 35, 34 level pretty decently, and then get an extra push down, but no follow through here. Not even able to get back down to that overnight point of control, which is, like I said, I think a bit of short covering here. You got a lot of people that opened up on a gap, and they finally got an opportunity to cover at a more fair price than, way up here. They looks like they took advantage of that opportunity there. If we look at the weighted sectors, you can see, cooling off a little bit. The breadth is still pretty cool, but the tick starting to pop up. So we'll look to see if the tick pops up above this 506. That would tell us there's a little bit of buying strength coming in to the market here. And the Nasdaq, kind of bouncing lower as well. This looks really similar to what we saw on Monday, right? We didn't have the gap, but it does look fairly similar to what we saw on Monday. We saw like decent breadth, but the market started to trade lower, but really was just old business taking profit for the most part. Sorry guys, I'm trying to do some things real quick for this house. Oompa loompa doopity doo. I've got another puzzle for you. See the volume real quick. Volume was 11%, so still about the same, 11% more than the previous day. So steady volume here. Yes. Nothing interesting. E period's giving us another slow move. Little look above there, but they hold this level. So this is gonna be a key level here, and we're seeing the 3 TPOs shift down. So we had 4 TPOs here, 3 TPOs here. We're seeing a little bit of value shifting lower here. Coming back down here a little bit. So this will be the key, right? This is kind of the setup here. If we are going to be, still looking for this long, if E period is unable to take that D low, there's good opportunity that we could, try along with a lower risk trade, right? The lower we can get in closer to that D low, the better, obviously, and look to trade back up to that value. In reality, let's say E period, we've still got about 22 minutes left. E period comes down, we get filled. If E period raises up fast, then we'd be targeting here. But if F period opens up and we're still not past that D low, then we'll look to trade it here, because that's where 4 TPOs would start to form. Is F period, if it opened up down here, trades into here, bring it down to here, so we'd have to be mitigating that risk right here. We're going to have low risk on a setup like this anyways, so really the target would be to trade back to that VPOC, but then value is up here as well, so want to let it run if it gets the opportunity to, of course. Notice how slow the tempo's getting down here. XLK closed its gap from yesterday. So did XLY. XLF did not. XLC did not. XLI did not. XLP did not. XLE did not. XLU's not even looking back. Where's the VIX at? VIX is above 20. It's at 20.23, up 2.5% today. Not really a huge spike in the VIX, but a decent little pop back above 20. I bet if we're on a 2-tick increment, that E high looks a little bit more mechanical. It's probably right there on that D half back. Let's see what we see here. Study. Oh shit! Right, still. Yeah, see, that's why I figured that E high looks a lot more mechanical on the 2-tick increments than it does on the 1-tick. Forming a bit of a double distribution here as well. That VPOC has moved down again. What economic data do we have tomorrow? Tomorrow we have Michigan consumer expectations. That's 30 minutes after the open. Michigan consumer sentiment. And then just all the CFTC speculative positions. After that, 34 here. Man, that workout this morning wore me out. So this will be the third test of these sellers' conviction down here at the lows, right? We saw a lot of volume come in, so a lot of two-way trading down here at the lows. This 34.35 level has held. That 35.50 is this E high. A break of this, I think, probably take you back up to. I mean, there's volume a little bit on the 38, honestly, but other than that, really, you're probably looking back at the open, which is that 40.50. And remember, this is something that I consider Brad prints, right? So I know it's not traditional single prints, but we can use this area as, a bit of single print-ish type area to see if sellers are willing to move down from positions to backfill this area and hold, right? And it looked, I mean, really with how thin that profile traded in that area, it really looked like a lot of capitulation from buyers really pushing that down. So there's a fourth time that they've held that area. So that area is just getting stronger and stronger up there, it looks like. A lot of volume coming in around this area, around from like 32 to 35, 34 half. Looking to push back down towards those lows. So that little pop right there was just a little bit of short covering. We came right back down to where the impulse was at. More short covering again on the same exact spot, that 26. Look to see if sellers try to hammer below that 36 or 26, excuse me. Back to the offer at 30. What is it with E period just being like just the slowest period in the whole world? Offer still holds on the 30. Look at the tick, right? So we're coming down to the low, but for some reason the tick isn't really hammering down these lows yet, right? So you wonder, is there just some seller absorption trying to move down and hold this level, or are they actually going to get some movement from these sellers here? You can see here was the open of Globex, and so the gap has already been filled on the Nasdaq. Let's look at the Dow here as well. Let's look at all of them. Russell hasn't filled its gap yet. The Dow has not filled its gap yet either. Just 26 level here. It's been holding fairly strong, but it doesn't look like, look like that bounce was just mainly just short covering, no real buying. Yeah, I won't be convinced that there's any buying until they touch back up to that open and fill that weak spot, right? It's really a weak spot in the profile, so it would just make sense if they were able to get up there and try to get it. There is some opportunity here to try to mitigate a little bit of risk and catch a nice long, but it's not sold yet. Yes, the beast is fast, meaning NQ. Are you filling the gap? Yeah. Yeah, Nasdaq's starting to break down here a little bit. So there goes E. 10 minutes left until F period happens. A little bit of liquidation there. Coming down to that Globex point of control here. Let's see if buyers show up around this level. That's what I was looking for this morning. Back into the D range here. Gap's still not closed. Remember, gap's down to that 13 level. Where was that offer at before? I didn't write it down. Damn it. 30 quarter. Maybe even 29.5 here. You see what the volume's at here. So we can assume this 23 was short covering here. You get a lot of volume at the bottom and then an immediate bounce, right? And especially, you know, we're bouncing up about 3 handles here. So you're thinking that this area is short covering. So we'll see as these sellers get back down here, if this price comes back down here, how this 23 acts. So right now I'm looking at 23 acting as support, and I'm looking at this 33 acting as resistance here at this lower range. So, you know, if we took the opportunity that we were talking about earlier, the target here is now only really looking into this 35 area, because that's where that's what we talked about, the VPOC moving down. F period is going to open up in 5 minutes. This would give us 4 TPOs. Even if F period opens up here, this is 3 TPOs lower. So still 4 TPOs in the middle, but we only have really 1, 2, 3, 4 levels of 4 TPOs overlapping. So value is definitely moving lower. Volume is definitely moving lower. So this trade here is more of just a fade than anything. We don't really want to hope and pray that it's gonna, you know, go all the way back to the top. Not saying that it can't. It's just, you know, you don't want to. You want to be getting ready to sell into strength, and the strength here really looks like, you know, it rejected this 35 a bunch of times, and you leave a mechanical high like E high back again, shows a little bit of weakness from buyers, right? Especially with the profile being so thin down here and starting really to look like a double distribution with the profile. I mean, not a true double distribution, but you can kind of see on the profile here, we've got excess here, distribution here, distribution here. So kind of that double distribution. So if you get back into this level and you don't take any profit off and it trades back down to here, you know, you're just kind of doing yourself a disservice. You know, expecting it to try to fill in and balance out this profile a little bit is just a little bit ambitious, I think, at this point. And you can see the breath is just cooling off. Everything is just kind of coming back down a little bit lower here. Still getting some support on XLK off a previous day. XLV is doing okay. XLY is really just struggling hard here. Financials are still doing okay. Communications trying to close its gap. It's getting really close. Industrial's still doing okay. So are staples. one time framing down here still too, right? Minutes until the next period opens up. I think I'm just going to call it at the next period. We are looking, for this thing to keep moving on up, looking for it to trade back around to that 34, 35 level. And we'll see the response from there as if we want to cut or keep riding. But if it doesn't take this E high, especially if F opens up and doesn't take a mechanical E high, that's just going to be a key sign that you don't want to sit through a rotation. You want to just flatten and then wait for it to come back down towards that, into the gap area or into that point of control. That 29 is still holding fairly strong there. Yeah, 30 quarter seems to be where the offer's moved down to at this point. So remember here before we get F period, well, we're about to get F period anyways, but this was a key thing that we were able to grasp onto this week that really helped us stay on the right side of the market. And I want you guys to think back to Monday and Tuesday, or what was this? What was the 5th? Was that Monday? No. What day? Oh, you stupid ass computer, what are you doing? What was the 5th? Friday. Yeah, and then the 8th. Okay, so Friday was the 5th. And we had, and then Thursday, we had, and then here's Monday. That's what I was talking about, Monday and Tuesday. Here we go. So Monday finished on the lows and was a down day, but value was overlapping to higher. And then we had Tuesday, which really didn't do anything except for it looked like a B profile. And it kind of just looked like old business taking profit at the highs, right? And so still have this huge gap below the market. Often takes a couple of days to close big gaps like that. We might see the gap close here today for during F period, but we'll see. But we have value moving up to higher. Value today is still higher, right? So this is not one of those days where we're like, oh, we're just gonna get short because it's gonna fill the gap. You've got to maintain perspective here, right? We're coming back down to a very prominent point of control, 17 TPOs wide at that Globex point of control here. And it did catch a little bit of a bounce. Some strength would show if we get back above that open and clear this mechanical high, would show the weakness of these sellers, and that would just indicate to me that we're seeing old business take profit. And what a spot to take profit at. What better spot to take profit at than above balance, right? You're basically cashing in your full position. If you think about how big money plays, if they're buying the low of balance, they're responsively trading, right? Responsive trades, and they're buying this low of balance. Well, we saw them start to take profit on this day, which caused us to come back into balance, but no follow through, letting us know, right? At least like to me, kind of letting us know that this was old business selling, right? Old business liquidation. A buyer turns into a seller. And so market gapped up the next day, showing initiative buying. That's what this gap represents, initiative buying. And so, I'm obviously they didn't get a chance to cover all of their long positions, but they did get to cover some and then get back in at a fairer price. Well, they stepped up, bought, and I know this drawing's getting a little bit messy, but they stepped up and bought through this area. Yesterday looked like a bit of short covering from all the people that tried to absorb And then today we had more initiative buying, moving the market up, and it looks like they're profit taking right above that 52.52 or 42.52 level, bringing us back down to these lower levels here. That 30.50 just held again, as a, well, it's a little bit lower, but the 30.50 just held again on the on that bounce off those lows. So, you know, I'm basically what I'm trying to say is, even if we do close this gap, that's not saying that the market's going to crash and blah 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 blah, right? We still want to see acceptance back in a lower range to kind of qualify us, or at least tell us that this initiative buyer that caused this gap or this excess in the market has exited the market. Because remember, we still have a gap all the way down here. You know, it's a rather small gap, but we do still have a gap from 37.19 to 37.12 quarter from down below. So just something to note, something to think about, right? Just to try to help you maintain perspective. That's what I try to do all day, every day, just so we don't get bias. I think biases are probably the biggest killer of most people, and that, you know, really turns into your psychology, which is the big driver of the market, human psychology. But other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. Make sure that you are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan. Looking like a nice sunny day out here, so I'm going to go ahead and get some fresh air and probably hit the pool for a bit. I will have my Discord, so if you guys need anything, just hit me up on the Discord. But other than that, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you guys later.